even more. They want to get that win to buffer it out. But here we are, Rusty, into picks and bans. GP not going to see the light of day this time around. Rise and Camille to follow, so already a lot more of that top lane attention we were expecting.
Certainly, and Rise may not be a top laner in most regions, but it is in mine in the LPL. Camille's also going to go with that one, so it is top lane focused like you mentioned. And then when you look towards the top lane picks that are still left standing, often you'll see Fiora picked into tanks if it's a free lane matchup. Camille's usually the skill matchup for that, so there's always a chance, but that's a late rotation champion. Up first is still the likes of the Scion that you may well see.
And already a completely different pick and ban. Kai'Sa going to remain the same. Will the Caitlyn follow the two priority AD carries that we've seen from our first game?
And with the Kai'Sa gone, it's entirely possible, unless you have other AD carry options there, and something that we've hinted towards. You know, if the Caitlyn is available, if the Caitlyn is locked in, which is not, of course, it's going to be banned this time, and keep your mind present with Jinx as a potential option as well.
Are we far enough in now, Rusty, in 8.8 that you can start to see or start to expect what's going to be first pick here? Is one game enough sample size? Is there anything that you think stood out from our previous match that might get first picked here?
I mean, the easy one is still going to be something like the Rakan, potentially. Of course, you're not going to be seeing that in this instance. It's an AD carry to be focused, but the reason that Rakan could be seen, perhaps, is that ability to flex. That's one of the major strengths alongside that. Something like the Scion as well can flex in two roles. It's stable first picks. It's big things that your team can lock down that helps the comp.
And Varus going to be locked in for Whitelotus, first pick of the draft for Rainbow7, giving him priority there on a bit of a comfort pick. But multiple AD carries open and available. Rakan going to be locked in on the opposite side for Ascension Gaming. Do they follow up with the Xayah here? Or are they going to mix it up? Are they going to hold on to that AD carry pick for just a little bit longer? Looks like nope. Xayah Rakan remains a powerhouse bottom lane. And if it's anything like the previous game, Rainbow7 should be a little bit nervous.
There may not be a level 1 Trundle gank, perhaps, but things could still be powerful for Ascension Gaming down in the 2v2. And when you look at that, of course, they reveal their AD carry early. It means they're not afraid of what Rainbow7 will be picking here in response. Perhaps there's no priority champion they wanted to secure for themselves. And jungle is always that position where you want to rotate that second. Sejuani, Trundle, Olaf, all of these options still being available. They choose to let Rainbow7 do this, and then they want to counter it.
Yeah, and the Trundle now getting locked in, Rainbow7 getting those picks. I want to see how they round out this first phase. What are they going to hide? What are they going to wait as we go into the second ban phase? So many champions could get taken away there. What is their priority? Are they going to go for a support? Is this Trundle a support flex pick for this lineup? How do they want to use it? And now it is the tanky top lane for Jirall, not looking to go toe-to-toe on carries up against Rockky, just taking something safe and steady for the team.
I guess what's interesting is that Ornn does actually have a lot of control in laning phase with the push that he has as well against certain other tanks. If you want to see those ones picked and secured, having that early push does actually remove a lot of potential top lane options. But here's an option that we haven't seen a lot of. Of course, we've only seen the one game, but no real priority towards it.
Swain. And of course, if you're thinking back to playoffs, the last competitive games you might have watched, Swain has been hit now, taken down a notch from the powerhouse state that he was in, the must pick, must ban. So we have to see what Ascension Gaming can do with this slightly weaker version of Swain.
It usually suffers from the problem of a very poor start to the game, a very slow to start laning phase as well, but ramps up very heavy afterwards. Ascension banning the Cassiopeia, potentially banning things that will body it, control it rather, in lane, and prevent it from starting to ramp up, secure it early. They're being removed, so that's a very high priority perhaps towards it going into the middle lane. Early indicators.
I want to see exactly what the options are, and you can see Rainbow7 has done their homework. Do not want to deal whatsoever with the Jax. Of course, a flex pick for this Ascension Gaming lineup. Are they going to give it to Intreso or Rockky? You really never know, especially when they're on the red side. They will get to dictate the pace here, but as you mentioned, mid lane, the ban focus, and support Morgana to follow. Rather, it must be the mid lane Morgana or support. I guess it could still be the flex pick Rakan. We've theory crafted, we've dreamed, we've watched the solo queue streams together, Rusty. I still don't know if it's a thing, but I'm going to keep bringing it up because I kind of want it to be.
I'll let you down gently this time. It's Ascension banning Morgana away from Rainbow7, so do not fret, there's no flexes to be seen.
I see you've used your eyes to make an educated decision there. Well, my mistake. Kha'Zix will join the ban pool as well with Rainbow7. Don't want to give that one over. Looks like they are nervous about the potential flex for the Trundle. Or the flex.
I mean, Trundle can actually flex towards 2 lanes in the top lane as well, so it's potentially 3. I know Frostgurren's pretty big on the Trundle support. She made me start playing it, and I'm now on the hype train.
Olaf, though, going to be the lock-in. So, Ascension Gaming now picking up a pretty powerful options for Engage here.
Yeah, I like the Olaf a lot, actually, even though Sejuani was an available option. You're against the Trundle, who's going to be slowing you down. You can actually bypass all of the slows that a Trundle has, and past that point as well, Varus, if you're trying to gank the Varus's lane, his Engage does nothing. He can't actually prevent you from closing distance, and he's completely immobile as an AD carry. So they do have a lot of potentially very powerful closing. I really like this option as well, getting the Braum with the Ornn.
Really tanky lineup coming in from the side of Rainbow7. The Trundle, the Ornn, the Braum. Now, despite the Braum nerfs, still looking to pick it up. They will have some good defensive options to stop the Xayah from being effective as they move further. And if they lock this in, this is a huge pick for Rainbow7. Seiya Azir, first game on stage. This guy is a machine on this champion, Rusty.
Yeah, it looks like that he's pretty content with G4 having a slow start to the laning phase on his champion of choice as well, unless they choose to flex that one now. Upon seeing the Azir, ramps up very hard, scales super well, and is a dominant late-game champion that will be able to work with Varus seamlessly. When you look at the composition as well, tanks to stand in front, damage at the mid-range, damage at the mid to long range as well. Pretty well-rounded in a front-to-back sense here, Rainbow7, and it's pretty stock standard there.
We see that the team fighting composition assembled now for Rainbow7. We look at the opposite side, Rusty, we look at Ascension. I see Rockky getting his hands on the Gnar. It's not quite the Camille or the Fiora or one of those more hard carry style split push champions, but we've seen what Gnar can do in the right hands. How do Ascension want to play this game?
I mean, there's always a possibility that he does commit towards the split push with itemization choices, so that's something that we will have to explore as we get onto the Rift for Ascension, for Rockky specifically. But with the Olaf, with a lot of potential once again for Engage down in the bottom lane, that is a place that you want to look at potentially early. Hit that hard and fast, get Rich and Lloyd going, and start to bring them around the map with you. Highly possible, but at the same time, you have to look at the push. If they're pushing bottom, he may just go into the jungle, Intreso. He may just try and find the Trundle.
Has not shied away from that option in the past as the coaches shake hands. And I want to see, once again, Whitelotus, a guy that we have to watch in this game, if he is the center of attention, if he's the player that Ascension Gaming try to shut down, how will it work out? Can he handle the pressure in his first game back on stage? He's got Seiya on a signature champion in the mid lane to back him up. It's a pretty comfortable start for him as far as team compositions go. He's not the sole carry, but still a lot of pressure on his shoulders to perform. They have a substitute AD carry here. I have to wonder how he feels.
There's a lot of pressure on him, but as you mentioned, the team's going to be there to support him. It's definitely a good starting point for him. Give him the Varus, play the easy champion, and start it off quick.
This is it, ladies and gentlemen. Game 2. Day 1 of the MSI play-in stage, Rainbow7 versus Ascension Gaming. Now hitting the Rift, the Blood Moon high in the sky. Observers already telling us what they expect from this game. A lot of action, Rusty.
I wouldn't have it any other way. I actually get very frustrated when there is no action. Again, I cast the LPL.
I was going to say, LPL casters, man. Can't handle the slow games. Well, don't worry, Rusty. I don't think you will have to deal with it, because we have an Olaf, we have a Trundle. We have all sorts of initiation on both sides. I don't think anybody's trying to play it slow and steady this time around.
No, you just have to look at where they start that off. Where does the pressure initially come from? We spoke towards perhaps where Intreso could go. Opportunities pretty much everywhere on the map for him if he's looking to gank, and he could invade into the jungle if he wants to find Oddie. That is if his lanes have push, and we mentioned that he'll probably be on the bottom side of the map if he's going to invade, just because they have a more guaranteed amount of push available between Xayah and Rakan at level 1. For the side of Rainbow7, it's just about scaling. You've got the top side. You could work with Jirall. You could actually fight down in the bottom lane as well. So actually, I'm more curious to see where Oddie goes opposed to Intreso.
We can see both junglers now starting on the top side of the map. Could look for some kind of early aggression. Rockky actually going to play aggressive here and move in, try to harass a little bit. Just a little bit of damage for free on Jirall as he leashes that buff. Still don't know where the junglers are going to go, but they could path top to bot side. We'll see what their decision is.
A single camp clears from Oddie and full camp clears from Intreso, as you will want to do on Olaf as well. Get as low as you can, clear as fast as you can. Usually does not indicate that he's going to be going for a gank on his first clear, however, if he finds himself as low as he currently is. So very different starts between these junglers, even though they are on the exact same side of the map working from top to bottom.
Of course, low mana bar as well, a little bit difficult. Does look like he's going to path over to that blue buff. Try to make up for it, of course, with the blue buff. Basically infinite sustain, infinite clear for that Olaf, but as you mentioned, never really gets back to full health. Kind of hits that equilibrium point around 50 or 60% health and just stays there.
Hovers at a point where he can clear the jungle, doesn't necessarily want to take those fights. Scuttle Crab control is also a very big deal for most junglers and places that you'll tend to see them fight over. And with the mid control that is present for Seiya, with his hovering on the top side of the map because of the vision, I think we'll actually see Olaf get the upper hand, I should say, on this bottom side.
We talked about push being very important to enable these junglers to kind of play aggressive, Intreso especially, but Swain, the nerf that came through, nerfing that Death's Hand cooldown early game, really does make a difference. Really means that he's going to struggle to keep up with Seiya's wave clear here.
You never know when an Olaf walks into a pit if he's going to try and take that one on. It's always a possibility. It's an Infernal Drake after all. Not to be the case this time around, and they are a skirmish-based team, Ascension. That's the thing that you'll have to remember as you watch them continue to play here. They love their skirmishes, they love their 2v2s. They don't necessarily need to take the big 5v5 team fights. They get the leads first through those skirmishes, so that's a place you will have to look at. It's very good to gank for a Gnar, especially when he hits 6. Same thing applies to bottom lane, and when Swain starts to scale up, they could see some quick movements. It could be Intreso. I actually would love to see Rich get out of lane.
I want to see exactly what he can do. The Rakan, the mobility, we've talked about it. How efficient it makes him at ganking, especially when paired with the Xayah, or setting up the plays for someone who wants to gank for him. And for now, push on the top side, push in the bottom side, mid, the only lane suffering. So Ascension have at least 2 of those lanes pressing forward, but it doesn't really feel like they're set up to gank anywhere at the moment.
No, it doesn't actually. There is no real feeling of want to gank in any respective team right now. They're actually very content with their farming. Oddie is the first person to make a move. He doesn't have any jungle to take in this position. He's just securing some vision. He's also going to see the Scuttle Crab. It's not belonging to him. So this early pathing, this early movement from Rainbow7 does feel like they're taking the first steps to setting up the play when it happens. And right now it is happening bottom.
Oddie with some creative pathing to work his way to the bot side. Lloyd and Rich could be in trouble. We may see some flashes burn here. They're a little bit too comfortable on the bottom side. There's the pillar. Lloyd may just have the flash right out, but immediately the flash right back in. The Braum has already parked the passive. That's the stun going down, and yet another bot lane first blood coming through at play-ins.
Brilliant work from Oddie, frankly. You saw him dodge around the vision, place it of his own as he goes through. He doesn't hit the scrying orb as well, so does not reveal his position on the map when going for this gank. Completely free. Good communication from Rainbow7 to clearly acknowledge that there was no vision available. And then, of course, they get the stuns off onto him, so super well done from Genthix on the backside as well. Hitting that Q, locking them down. And
you talked about the Olaf being the guy who constantly threatened the early Drakes. Well, Rainbow7 aren't going to give him the chance. They're going to take this one away for themselves. 1 kill and a 5-minute Infernal Drake. Maybe not your dream early game dragon, but definitely a strong thing to have overall.
Yeah, definitely a great start here from the side of Rainbow7. They are going to be the favorites coming into this. They've been touted as the best in the group. But don't forget that when you come into this, if it looks slow, you'd expect that that starts to favor the best team regardless. And with an Infernal Drake at 5 minutes in, that's super early for a scaling, team-fighting style of dragon. The composition's going to relish in that fact as well as they get later and later.
And the next thing I want to see, Rusty, is what itemization is Whitelotus going to go for? 37 CS and a kill, good amount of gold in that inventory. What's he going to opt for here? What does the new Varus look like on patch 8.8? How does he want to play it?
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Usually there is a variable amount of builds that you can go towards now with your AP potentially options there. The Nash's Tooth always a threat that they could be going towards. But when you look at the composition, there's no physical besides him. So if he's going to commit to any kind of build, I would like to actually see the Guinzoos in a rapid-fire cannon style of AD itemization from him. Though every Varus tends to do as they feel it out. Item builds are often a lot of based on how it feels for you to play.
And the good news, of course, for the side of Rainbow7 is if they're worried about, only having magic damage. On the opposite side, Ascension doesn't really have a true tank. They have Olaf, kind of this pseudo-tank, a similar thing with the Gnar. Rakan doesn't build too tanky, but it's not a Scion, right? It's not an Ornn, it's not a Maokai, so it's hard to punish them for being, primarily magic damage based.
Yeah, just a bunch of bruises, really. And when you look at the itemization for them, it's not going to be all that simple as well. The choices that you have, maybe Intreso going full tank. Rockky also can choose to do that on the Gnar, but we mentioned this before. May trend towards split pushing. Wants to be a big pressure point, big focal point. It's not an easy thing to do as Intreso
coming in. Ooh. Still just level 5 for Oddie. Is going to make it out. Of course, walls, Olaf's natural enemy. No way to leap over them. Oddie now going to make it out to safety. So, red buff taken away there in the end from Intreso. Not at all what he wanted, but still behind for Oddie. You can see a pretty big difference in jungle CS, 52 to 38. So while the ganks might be going in the favor of Oddie, Intreso definitely punishing him elsewhere on the map.
Well, that is the price you pay, right? Firstly, you're an Olaf into a Trundle, and then secondly, you spend an extended period of time to gank and get the correct pathing, dodge vision, waste all of that time. And it wasn't wasted because the kill was secured in the end, but it could well have been if that kill was not there for them. They do need to utilize that kill, however. Remember, it goes to the bottom laner, it goes to Whitelotus specifically on the Varus. And the summoner spells are gone from Lloyd, so if ever there was a time to repeat gank, get back towards the bottom lane, now's a pretty good time, especially with the control wards they've got down there.
And while we haven't answered 100% what the new Varus build is going to look like, we see it at least somewhat similar to the old build, the double daggers and the boots too. Very classic Varus itemization choice, and of course the extra movement speed just makes him so hard to trade against.
Especially when you're an attack speed-based champion, getting the blight stacks off as fast as you can, proccing them constantly. And Xayah Rakan, whilst they need to go forwards, they need to actually lock you down to deal the damage. That's pretty much in the wheelhouse of a Varus who wants to stand and deliver from close ranges.
I want to see what Rich and Lloyd can do, because right now they are getting a little bit shut out of this lane. Of course, Rich still approaching confidently to get his coins. See what the options are at level 6. It was a huge catalyst in the previous game for action. See if it'll be the same this time around for the bot side.
The scary thing again, though, is there's 3 control wards placed through the jungle of Rainbow7 on the bottom side of the map. So when you look at all of that vision they have, whenever a wave is cleared in mid lane, as an example, and he just disappears from the lane, currently just hiding to the side there, they don't know where he is. They have to assume the worst, and so they have to play defensively. They've got no summoner spells on Lloyd. What is he going to do if he's caught out of position then, right? Just dies. So with that respect does come that they slowly lose the lane more and more until it starts to be a noticeable difference. But for what it's worth, in this situation where they're constantly being pressured out, Lloyd's kept the CS difference. He's actually doing very well for himself for farm.
It's a good look overall, and you can see the rest of the map still doing quite well. Rockky maintains some pressure on the top side of the map. An interesting itemization choice coming in from him, winning the CS battle, Rusty, and going for the Cole. We talked about split pushing Gnar versus maybe an alternative build choice. Does Cole tell us what does Cole actually mean here for Rockky?
I mean, there's certain kinds of players, Drakos, that will just go Cull. And I think Rockky is one of those players. Marin is another one. If you cast your mind back to whenever Marin plays Gnar, he does his abstract things, but that is just him as a player. Cull is pretty greedy, and he knows that he's against the tank, so he's pretty content with just farming for another 100 CS. You know he'll get there regardless anyway, right? So it's not completely inefficient, but he's not going to have item spikes anytime sooner as a result of that. It does slow them down. He may not want to be team fighting.
May not be the case, but you got to give some credit here. In the meantime, to Rainbow7's bottom lane, you see Intreso there, ready for the gank, trying to bait. Rich even stepping forward to try to look tasty, but Rainbow7 no. They don't need to take any risks here, just taking their time, just backing off.
It's actually like a game of noughts and crosses down the river now. The control wards are still there, but everywhere that there isn't a control ward, there is a regular ward from Ascension. They are trying really hard to not get ganked, really hard to not get exposed, and consistently just trying to scale up further and further, get to their big item spikes, and perhaps they can find a window of opportunity. The composition wants that as well.
Last game we had an extended laning phase, seemingly because both teams wanted to extend the laning phase. This time it just feels like we're not getting as much action, and both teams are just content in their respective lanes, scaling up. But who does this actually benefit as we come to the mid-game? Who's actually happy to just have this kind of lack of early aggression or objective contesting going down from either side?
I mean, for me, specifically looking towards the mid-game, like you mentioned, I think it's actually just super contextual. There's a Gnar that'll team fight in the mid-game. Massive impact if he's able to get that working, so does the Azir is good in the mid-game, but continues to want to scale up further and further. So 3-4 items, it may start to favor Rainbow7 just that little bit more. That's where Varus is strong, however, so he's able to circumvent the weakness, perhaps, of the Azir. For Ascension, I do think they're actually at their strongest towards the mid-game, mid to late type of scaling, and then they will start to drop off in comparison as you get to the super late game, just because the Azir is there, and Swain doesn't always have the same impact.
You can always argue about execution, how well can the Azir play in the late game, but this is Seiya's Azir. We know how well he can play in the late game. You cannot go late game against this man and expect to win fights whatsoever. He's so talented on this champion if he gets the opportunity. He will definitely carry. Now, however, Intreso may just be caught out. Not going to burn the ulti, though. Good patience there. Just uses the smite and walks away. And neither side looking to burn any extra cooldown. Seiya not going to overcommit, try to throw out an Emperor's Divide, just playing it slow and steady.
It's all about getting control of the Drake right now. The fact that they do push out Intreso, he's not going to come back to assist. In fact, is over at the Gromp to get health back, buys them enough time to look for it.
Demonic Ascension goes in. Rich is going to hit multiple targets, trying to get the Swain into the back line to take down multiple members. They will find one kill onto Genthix. Rest of the team now backing off Whitelotus. Is he going to be in trouble? There goes G4. The ult, though, is it going to fade away before it can hit anybody? It does. Throws out the Vision of Empire, walking away. Only a single kill for Ascension, traded for the Drake.
G4 was feeling it as well. Flash it over the wall. Wants those kills, it isn't going to find it. Of course, the Drake's still secured, but the kill is there.
He doesn't have any boots, Rusty. He's just not fast. He's a scary bird for sure, but there's just...
He's a scarecrow.
He just walks away. Whitelotus, Seiya. Well, just get to walk away from the Demonic Ascension, not worried about getting hit by that Demon Flare.
Still a win overall, however, for Ascension if they're able to continue to pressure their lanes and keep that pressure up. But because the Drake was secured, it's still a big win for Rainbow7 for the immediate effect that it provides. Now, you'll see the fight happening again here. It was just a good engage coming out of Rich on the Rakan, able to go forwards and lock them down. And then G4 is like, I can absolutely not do this, but I've already flashed.
And these type of engages are exactly why you talked earlier about wanting to see Rich kind of get out of this laning phase. He's a talented Rakan player. You saw was in his top 3 most played champions in Champion Select. And maybe if he's freed up, he can be that catalyst for action that we know Ascension is looking for.
And we said this last game as well when you're looking at the combo of Gambit. You need Edward to be unlocked, otherwise the Galio has no effect. And a similar thing applies here as well. Without the Rakan going in, without the Rakan engaging, they've got maybe a Flash Gnar. They've got perhaps, if Swain hits the E, can lock someone down and pull them back, but that's not even fully committal. It's super reliant on Rich getting everything done.
It's so true. The follow-up is beautiful, right? The Swain, the Gnar. If someone else hits the CC first, you have the most beautiful wombo combo imaginable. But if it starts under any other circumstance, it just feels so difficult to execute.
And there's definite counterplay as well. Even for low mobility champions, Swain throws out his E, and it's a super slow claw that you can just move sideways from. So in these group 5v5 scenarios, very reliant on the support of Ascension here to get things done for them. Or a flank, perhaps, from Rockky. The teleports can come out, of course, when that's available. Maybe the place they look.
Yeah, of course, we check in just on individual gold numbers as the team gold is quite even, despite from the advantage that Drake gives. But you see the CS difference in the mid lane starting to account. 300 gold lead for Seiya there. And in the jungle, things looking very good. But Jirall, just going to try to force a play. Lane swap now coming in from Rainbow7. Rusty, looks like the game might start to speed up now.
I mean, as respect flashes go, that was one of the most respectful flashes that I have seen, because there wasn't actually anyone nearby. They were running up the lane still to get there, and you'd have to expect they weren't in range to follow it up with anything. Rockky choosing to stay as high health as he possibly can, but now he's lost Mega. Now he has no flash. He can't stand under this turret, and Rainbow7, like you mentioned, swapping lanes. They get there first, they get the damage done first.
Rich now stepping forward. Tower may go down, but can they follow the follow-up engage? Intreso is here. Oddie could just get caught out, but is throwing down that pillar. Intreso now in trouble. May just get taken out. The flash over the wall. Seiya trying to make the play. Rich using the blast cone to make it out to safety. Nobody's going to die. It will just be the 1-for-1 trade of towers in the end. And Ascension actually coming out on top with the gold lead.
A great disengage there from the Ascension duo that were caught out in the jungle by Oddie. And yes, they make the plays, Rainbow7. But it could just be acknowledgement that they were going to lose their bottom lane turret anyway. So they try and make the play more successfully. They try and get it first. And now they continue to push forwards, looking for further objectives. There's no flashes available for the Olaf this time, though, so it's super risky to step up.
And Whitelotus with the ult. No ulting on the Olaf either. Rich with no flash. They have to be really ready to commit for this. Now Mega Gnar is going to fade away. The ulti is going to miss from Whitelotus. And Intreso, though, still in trouble. He's going to get hit by the chain CC. Looks like he may just get taken down. The counter engage comes out from Rich. Seiya now starting to cut through this lineup, but G4 is in the middle of everything. But the bird may just go down. Demonic Ascension keeps him alive for now. Feathers fly, pulled right back. Lloyd, though, may have overstayed his welcome as Seiya is happy to grab that kill. The flash out for Whitelotus. One more auto. Can he take him down? Whitelotus gets it in the end. Seiya with the double kill. 80 carry does not drop. That is disaster for the side of Ascension.
That was a super close fight between both teams. A stone's throw away from an ace in either direction. They're still pushing forwards. Jirall trying to perhaps find the recalling members of Ascension. He does spot out Rich, but at the end of the day, just a messy skirmish back and forth between these teams, and so close to being a bigger deal than it was. Rainbow7 still win, however, in the end.
You know, you think for the side of Rainbow7, that Varus ult mitts, maybe things are going to start to go wrong. Lloyd with the aggressive flash forward just can't quite clean up those kills. And at the end of the day, you're right. I was eager to call it bad for the side of Ascension, but it was a very even fight, Rusty.
Yeah, taking out Intreso first is the best part here. Rich with the counter engage was super clean. And then G4 just does not die. The amount of time that he spends standing in front, almost dead, but not, is very significant. Lloyd able to, of course, free hit this entire time, super aggressive. And now Rocky's the man you have to look at, because if he was Mega, everyone was dead. And he's so close to getting the combos going. One hit was the difference there. And of course, able to just back away if you're Rich.
Yeah, and it's... Ooh. This is what I like to see, Rusty. You wanted fights, whoop, and you might just get another one. Rockky caught out here. Ornn is going to get knocked right back. No hope for Rockky. Seiya, Mr. Splinter Cell himself, hiding in the bush, waiting for that opportunity. Another kill, dropping for Rainbow7.
We're starting to see Seiya really warm up as well on the stage right now, getting engage after engage. That was the third, I think, that he's made an attempt towards. This time super successful. Results in a turret going down. Ascension, they're going to try and trade. They're going to try and go for the objectives. It doesn't look like Rainbow7 even want a part of it.
Instead, they're going to get a turret on the bottom side of the map. Willing to give this one up. I'm looking like still waiting around, maybe hoping to get something. Rusty, we were, everybody on our broadcast team, all eyes on Whitelotus. Whitelotus returning from ban. How's he going to be? And don't get me wrong, Whitelotus has had a solid game thus far. Up. I'm going to have to hold that thought because Rich is going to die.
Whitelotus.
Whitelotus. But Seiya, I feel like, is the man we have to talk about. Whitelotus was flashier last year at World, but Seiya has been a rock for this team. The Mexican faker. This guy looks so good right now.
When you look back through his history as well, you realize that in 2013 he was winning tournaments. That's how long he has been the best for. He's been a part of every single roster that has won in the Latin America North region. He's a big part of their success as well, and Whitelotus is exciting. It's definitely a player you have to continue to look towards. He's taken my advice as well. He's gone towards the build that we suggested, the AD build. Seiya is still someone that makes the plays happen. They're a part of the dynamic duo of this team that always finds success.
And now on the opposite side, we look at the people that we really expected to be successful. Intreso and Rockky needed to be core to this team's success. They haven't found that opportunity yet, Rusty. We see 0-1-2, 1-2-3, not the scorelines you want from the players that you expect to build leads for your team in the early game.
You know, often when you see tournaments like this happen, a lot of the meta actually starts to forge itself within the first 2 days. Different groups, perhaps priorities on different things. But the one thing that has always remained consistent and has always been a strength, even through the years of these tournaments existing, is how important the jungle role is to a team's success through a play-ins game. And when you look at Intreso, he hasn't had a bad performance in the jungle, but Oddie's got ganks off. Oddie's been a little bit more successful in getting his lanes going. And that has always been the biggest role of the jungler in these tournaments throughout the years.
And you can see the individual advantages that Intreso got for himself. The massive CS differential that he had in the early game just hasn't amounted to much because they haven't been able to use it very well whatsoever. And that's really credit to Rainbow7 for not letting this Olaf take over the game with his individual gold advantage. And now you can see Rainbow7 pretty comfortable dictating the pace of this game. They're the ones pushing out mid lane. They're the one laying down this vision. And kind of it feels like getting ready to say, hey, Baron is on the menu. You're going to need to fight for it. And unfortunately, Xayah is also on the menu immediately. Lloyd taken out. Another great pick there by the Rainbow7 line.
And a funny interaction as well for those wondering why Lloyd didn't just choose to back away. He was still rooted in place. Even though he used the Xayah ultimate, the Varus ult had connected, so he couldn't walk backwards and then just came down next to a Trundle pillar. Was stuck.
If he had tried to walk backwards, yes, the Trundle pillar still counts as terrain there. And despite the fact that Xayah is in the air, can't actually go over stuff. It's a little misleading.
It is actually quite upsetting. At the end of the day, they still kill Lloyd. He didn't have flash. It's almost available. Could have kept him alive. It's not the Baron, though. Remember, we're only 20 minutes into this game. That's still very early to be looking at the Baron as an objective.
Not worth the risk. Even a 4v5, Baron definitely a stronger fifth member for Ascension than anybody else right now if they do try to test it on the side of Rainbow7. But across the board, kind of just slow, steady gold leads being incremented on top of the triple dragons. Double Ocean. So nice for Jirall to have on the bottom side of the map, Rusty, because I feel like Rockky, he wins little trades, he can keep trading as much as he wants, but Jirall disappears for half a wave and he's full health again.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a big deal down there, especially once you hit the Mega Gnar and Jirall starts to step forwards, trades, and has the grasp of the Undying as well. So at all times in the game, down in that bottom lane, pretty happy camper. There's Jirall. Rocky's just going to be looking perhaps more towards the team fighting, but then you look at his items, and he's not at all.
Not interested whatsoever. Black Cleaver, recurve bow. Maybe a Wit's End. Maybe a Lunix.
Could be Guinzoos as well. We've been starting to see more and more Guinzoos Rageblade.
is definitely an option. A little bit of a ways out. Of course, the initial chain release is a more cost-effective item, although they did change that recently as well. 3,300 gold, so still a pretty expensive second item to pick up, but Cole helping him get closer than ever. And it's grim for Ascension because we just saw them use their Rift Herald Rusty on the mid lane just to get Baron Vision, just to clear out, to have a little bit of semblance control over that area, and Rainbow7 just push right back, take control right back. Luckily the Scuttle Crab not going to be deleted. Will take a little bit more time to get that away.
I will say, however, that they have just hit big item spikes. So when you look at their relative strength, it's only 1,500 of gold the difference, and it felt like the control was pretty comprehensively in favor of Rainbow7. But now the tides do actually start to turn more towards neutral again, where Ascension can afford to step up. 2 items complete on every carry. Their jungle position's also gone for the Righteous Glory. They are pretty set, as long as they look at just the 4v4. If they can keep both Rockky and Jirall out of it, I'd actually still be okay if I was Ascension.
And just if they get the opportunity to lock down a single member, maybe pick off one of the 2 carries, they're going to be in an excellent spot. But for now, the battle is not about finding these picks. Right now, it's just about vision around the Baron Pit.
And I was going to mention that perhaps it's a good idea to 4v4. But now that Rocky's completed his second item, he's actually quite strong. So there is an opportunity to bring in the 5th player and start to have a bigger impact. It has to happen in the next couple of minutes, or you start to see more items done.
Oddie getting aggressive. Seiya getting hit by the Vision of Empire, give G4 a little bit more health. And Oddie's ult going to fall away, so ultimate cooldown burn there, not a whole lot traded back. Not ideal for Rainbow7, but does give them a little bit more pressure on the top side of the map as the remaining members of Ascension head to the mid lane.
Not the most impactful cooldown you would say from Oddie, but at the same time, that means that Trundle is actually susceptible to dying very quickly as a team fight breaks out if they lock him down. Remember that it is Xayah and Rakan. You're seeing them on your screen. If they choose to engage, the damage is very high, and so is the amount of crowd control and how quickly they can go forward. So there's always a chance. And that chance is actually all it takes.
Now the 4v4 you're talking about, as Ornn is forced to kind of occupy that bottom lane indefinitely. The question is, how strong is this Gwynth who's actually going to make Rockky? Does he actually have enough pressure on this bottom side to start threatening Jirall in these individual 1v1s?
You know, often one of the biggest strengths that it does provide is that it may change the itemization choices of your opponent top laner. If you're dealing more magic damage overall by having double procs for Hyper or something of the likes, then it changes the item choices of Jirall, perhaps. And that changes the face of a team. So there's always a chance that Rockky doing this benefits Lloyd the most, as he's going straight towards the highest damage AD build possible.
Of course, you also have to respect the potential for Gnar if he does, go mega on the back line after getting the CC off, turn mini, that he can be that really big cleanup threat. It's a lot of what ifs though. Let's see if Intreso actually making his way out of this one. The disengage does come through. TP burned on the side of Ascension just to keep that fight from happening.
It was both teleports actually by Rockky and by G4, and both cancelled. So Rainbow7 get the best possible scenario there just by pressuring forwards, and a single Trundle pillar once again is able to force these things out of Ascension. Actually sets up the map to be so well controlled by Rainbow7. They can just press forwards once again.
And now Seiya, they have so much control on the map. He just gets to sneak his way over the pit. No vision.
It's going to see him at all. And it's number 3. That's Ocean Drake's go, so they are very happy with that.
And this is a pretty tough situation. Normally you're kind of scared when an enemy jungler has Warmogs, it means they can start the Baron and back off. Well, Triple Ocean kind of function a little similar in terms of what it's going to provide for the team. But Oddie just continuing to threaten here. Rich hoping that maybe the Trundle was isolated, but sees the rest of the team there and available. Now G4 working his way into enemy lines, but has to be careful. The team is not there to back him up quite yet. And as Gnar continues the bot side split push, we'll start to pull back.
I think the face of what these setups actually look like for both respective teams now completely shifts. With a 3rd Ocean Drake being locked down, Rainbow7 don't need to all-in engage anymore. They can just poke. Like you mentioned, baiting the Baron is a perfectly fine option for him. And so is trading health with their opponents. No lifesteal, no sustain to be seen from them. There's no Sorakas or Namis running around. It's a Rakan Q as their major source of healing. So if they poke, if they both lose half health, Rainbow7 will.
Rainbow7, you see Oddie already confident, even more confident now. Does get stunned up. G4 trying to throw down a little bit of damage, but he's all on his lonesome. The team's going to need to engage immediately if they want to get something started. Does burn the Zhonya's. Whitelotus backing up, not wanting to get hit. The chain CC does miss. Genthix with a bit of a fumble there. Whitelotus may just go down. So much damage coming out as he flashes backwards. He does finally drop as Intreso finds the kill. That is the shutdown. It might just be what Ascension need. Now running for their lives. Oddie on the backside. Seiya coming in. What can he do in this fight? He's now set up to succeed. So many low health bars. Can he actually bring it home? Has to respect the damage potential. Gnar is on the way. Jirall now backing off, leap forward. Seiya pushes him back. They do get down the CC Ridge with the follow-up, but it might not be enough. Lloyd cut down. Seiya coming in clutch for this lineup. Rich now on the retreat. Just a long, slow goodbye here. Rainbow7 going to grab one more, and it looks like they might just go right for that Baron.
It appears by having Seiya alive, they still have enough damage to go straight towards the Baron. Comprehensive teamfight victory here for Rainbow7. On the backside, the three-man unit hitting at the Baron right now. Very clean work between them. Great communication, great execution. And Ascension just completely routed. They had no opportunities to stop that once it had started. G4 was the one caught out of position to kick it all off.
Finally, we're able to take down Whitelotus, but it just took too long.
And it's these constant pillars, Drakos, that keep catching Intreso out of spots that start to cause the rest of his team to go towards him. And even with Whitelotus missing the ultimate, even with the Zhonya's there to buy time, you have to remember that he is the one caught first. He forces everyone to come to him. And Whitelotus puts in some serious work. He was half a second away from perhaps surviving there and giving them the clean team fight, but still they get him down. Ascension are able to navigate their way around the disengage to get trades, and from this point you know full well that they've got nowhere to go. So they have to try and desperation fight, but Seiya's got the ultimate as well, so he's able to keep him back, keep the distance there, and just win out the rest of the team fight.
And for a brief moment, it looks so good when they get the setup, when Rich hits, you know, the knockup on the 3 remaining members, but there's no Xayah all left. She can't get close enough to throw in the auto attacks, and unfortunately 2 of the people you're hitting are incredibly tanky. Jirall and Oddie, so strong, but you can see just the difference between the Swain damage and the Azir damage in that fight, Rusty, is immense.
Yeah, that's what happens when a Swain spends most of the fight just trying to survive, not trying to lock people down. Didn't really have the same amount of impact. Of course, Lloyd tried his little heart out to get that team fight won.
Was not enough in the end. Now Whitelotus and Seiya playing very far forward, very confident. Could be bad news. Does force out the early ult from Oddie. Predator now used from Intreso as well. Kind of playing on the edge here. Jirall maybe going to look for the engage. Lineup comes out, gets multiple ultimates here. Traded now for the hourglass cooldown, but that's a long one. Maybe not something that G4 wants to give up so easily. And Rainbow7 just playing on the edge. That triple ocean we talked about, they just do not care. They will go down to half health and happily walk back at full health 10 seconds later.
Yeah, exactly right. So they'll continue to push forwards. They're only looking at one lane. They're not going towards mid lane. They're not alternating and pivoting with vision control. They have decided that this is where they will stand and they will fight you constantly until you give them an opening. Whereas Ascension, they are trying super hard to prevent them from getting any kind of access. And Azir and Varus stepping up to hit the turret is not that safe.
Difficult spot to be in, but you see Rockky just trying to stay on the edge of Gnar, ready to threaten that counter engage at any moment, but he's up against that pillar from Trundle. He's up against that wall from Azir. It's going to be very difficult for him to get the execution, but Rusty, if he finds his way into that backline, gets that multi-man Gnar ultimate, maybe they can turn this fight back.
The hard part here is the lack of flash for Rockky on his Gnar, so it has to be a jump forward. Ornn once again comes out, trying to zone them all off.
G4 does get hit. It's a slow, steady siege. The double knockup. See if they find the follow-up. Right now, it is just going to be backing off. Still the slow siege from Rainbow7. Not looking to overcommit to this, despite connecting everything. And Seiya backing off with the rest of the team. Happy just to get the inhibitor tower. Not looking to push for more.
I mean, it's a very simple process from Rainbow7. I do appreciate the reservations from them as well, knowing full well that they are ahead, but they're not ahead by enough to just commit to a dive blatantly and just give it a crack and see if it's going to be successful. They play slow, they get the turret, they reset one more time, spend the money that they just earned by having the Baron. Make sure they are as strong as they possibly can be for item spikes when the next fight comes across.
It's just a difficult spot to be in. You see the Masterwork items starting to come in as well. Seiya with the Masterwork Death Cap, the Masterwork Abyssal Mask as well coming through for Jirall. It's Rusty, it's definitely been a closer game than what we saw in our game one, but Rainbow7 are starting to just take absolute control here on the back of one really well-executed fight.
Yeah, I mean, the simple way to explain it here is that Ascension are by no means a pushover. They lost to a bit of extra cleanliness from Rainbow7. You cast your mind back to the original gank as well that you saw from the Trundle. The best example of it. Oddie is hyped up as a jungler, and you got to see the best example of why he is. They go for the picks. They've acknowledged that Ocean Drakes allowed them to play the game slowly, whereas Ascension on the opposite side are just kind of left responding to everything that R7 did.
And their biggest team fight damage threat right now feels like it is Lloyd, but 1, 4, and 5, definitely not the scoreline. You can see that Rainbow7 have been so effective at shutting this guy down, not giving the more veteran members of Ascension the time to deal damage in these team fights. And Intreso, though, looks he may have found a fight. I think looking for the fall, holding down on the pillar. Oddie could just be the sacrificial lamb here. They're pulling it back into everything. Ornn ulti is going to come back. Looks like Oddie is going to fall. That's a shutdown for Ascension. Just one pick, however, in the end.
That's a great pick to get, though. 50 seconds without the jungler of Rainbow7 on the G4 again.
Forward, wants a little bit more, is going to manage to land the knock-up. The chain CC starts to come in. Rockky, will he get Mega Gnar in time? Whitelotus does so much damage. They're going to try to make their way out to safety. Can they get anything else? Multiple members going down. G4 going off in the front lines. Whitelotus, goodbye! He just gets taken out of that fight. Ascension are firing back. Seiya's just trying to get something back for this Rainbow7 lineup.
He's looking for the kill here. He may actually just get it with the damage he's got, but not to be seen. Ascension on the bottom side of the map, knowing full well that Seiya is where Rainbow7 are powerful. If he's not there, you fight. You go aggressive. You go over the walls, flashing forwards, constantly acknowledging when they are strong, does actually keep them in it.
And this is the quintessential aggressive play of Southeast Asia, Rusty. This is why you can never count the Gigabyte Marines out. And always have to respect
this. Actually starts with Azir on the top side of the map, running towards mid lane. There's no chance to help the rest of his team by the time that Oddie was already dead. And from this position, you never expect them to flash over this wall of your G4, perhaps find the targets. But he does. He absolutely does. And he locks down 2 actually with that as well. Rocky's able to go forwards. Blast Cone for Lloyd as well to get in and remove Whitelotus from the start of that fight. It could have been a lot worse for them, but they are all committed to the exact same play. They've all fully acknowledged that they're going aggressive. When there's too much or not enough, they do it as a team and they find success through that.
Worked out so well. A lot of major cooldowns burn. The flashes. Lloyd, G4, Rich, Intreso, only Rockky, who didn't have the flash available at the time, doesn't use it. But now with the Gnar flash available, with Rockky ever present on that side lane, maybe this is the moment where Ascension can start to come back into the game, take control, because they're against 5 dragons. So Elder is a death sentence, and it feels like Baron is a death sentence. So Ascension really need to play this one cleanly from this point out if they do want to find a win.
It's actually a lot of Drake.
Yeah, that's rare that we see that many Drakes, right? You have to take one so early.
Teleporting out. Can they stop?
So as Classic does manage to make it out.
Seiya doesn't want to risk a flash ultimate just in case he was able to miss the timing. The teleport had already started. But the teleport is now gone from Rockky. So G4 is the person that they have to then designate to the side lane control. And Baron up in 10 seconds means that teleport is very costly.
And, you know, we saw earlier what happens when you commit multiple members to the side lane. Normally at these late game points, it means that the enemy team just gets a free pass onto Baron. But Rainbow7 so far ahead and with so much control over the area that Ascension really couldn't respond to that play whatsoever and do just sacrifice the TP without getting anything in return.
Certainly do. And of course, you can see the damage dealt in this entire game. Swain is the one that sticks out like a sore thumb, frankly, when you compare mid laners. And Seiya is only going to continue to get even stronger as the game progresses. So we have to draw your attention towards 5-1 and 3. Super scaling. G4 though, what's interesting about this as well, his damage hasn't been high. He's been making the plays that are necessary. He has been flashing a Swain to get engages that no one else is willing to do.
But sadly, Rusty, all those plays aren't going to amount to much if it means that this Baron is going to fall to Rainbow7 uncontested. Now Rocky's coming in on the side. There's G4 in the middle of everything. They're trying to get this fight going. Exactly what they wanted, but Rich is immediately taken down. Rockky is in the back line. Whitelotus gets taken out. Rockky coming in clutch to kill the carry. G4 alive and untouched. Feathers fly, but Seiya not going to get stuck up. We'll need to make a hero play to bring this one back. Rockky just wants to take down another kill, but a massive win for Ascension Gaming.
Rockky had the flash and chooses not to get anything else. They'll take the win. The Baron is a major victory for them. And they actually just let Rainbow7 do it, teleport in, and take the Baron away from underneath them by team fighting on top of all of that. Lloyd is really starting to hit a point where his scoreline does not reflect the work that he is doing to continue to carry them through this game as well.
And honestly, Rockky just so strong at this point that no longer can Rainbow7 get away with how they've been playing these fights earlier in the game where they didn't play as a full 5, where they came in from different angles. You saw what happens when Whitelotus is left alone for 2 seconds with that Gnar.
This is the Baron that gets started. Note that it stops at about 4,000 health because the teleport is there, but it's already too low. From this point, the fact that it's at 2,000 and only regenerates 1 extra 1,000, Intreso's in the pit. That forces Trundle to have to go in and 1v2 them. Swain can just sit there and deal AoE the entire time, and Rockky is able to find Whitelotus. The Quincy's Rage Blade, of course, getting those procs off sooner rather than later. Make sure that he's able to execute that one, and Lloyd aggressively, of course, going towards the front line, preventing one more time Seiya from dealing the damage that he needs to do for them to win the fight. They are zoning him away.
Zoning him away completely, and you can see a scattered Baron call costing Rainbow7 so much. They still have the Drake advantage, absolutely, but the gold lead now safely in the favor of Ascension, and that's only going to continue to grow as they put this Baron buff to use.
3 Ocean Dragons will help a decent amount here for the side of Rainbow7, sustaining against the Baron push. Of course, even having a Warmogs available for Ornn means that in off waves, in down times, they'll stay at full health regardless. It does need to be something a little bit more committal from the Ascension roster. They can't just sit there and poke. They lose those in the end.
Now it's the Elder Dragon. A catalyst, an arena for both of these teams to fight, and the stakes are so high for Ascension. If they get this one, it means so little, but if they lose it, it means everything. They're definitely not out of the woods yet. We already talked about the scaling. Seiya, the Azir, a team-fighting monster in this late-game state. Things do not get easier for Ascension Gaming. If they want to win, they're going to have to start that path now. Going to catch out with Empire immediately. The ult to the wall. Whitelotus with the fumble on the QSS means he will just get taken down, but can they get anything more? He has managed to live. The damage is not quite there. Feathers fly. No follow-up, though, in the end. Whitelotus coming back. They want to get the follow-up. They will manage to take him down. Lloyd takes him out, but G4 drops as well. Lloyd now caught behind the pillar. He has to flash out to safety. Can he continue to auto-attack? Is going to get it such a close fight in the end. 1-for-1 exchanged mid laner for 80 carry.
And so clean from Lloyd to ensure that after the Guardian Angel was gone, Whitelotus would still be locked in place. They keep him down. They kill the 80 carry of Rainbow7, and now, whilst they may not be the healthiest, they still press forwards towards the Elder Dragon. They want Rainbow7 to come to them, but they're regenerating from the Ocean Drake. This is so risky.
Gnar on the backside again. One more ulti may be enough. Doesn't have the cooldown quite yet. Doesn't have the rage either. And you can see the Ocean Drake still ticking away on Oddie, still healing up. Ascension are playing with fire. This is their last stand. It looks like they're committing to this one. They still want to keep the fight going. Seiya's locked up in the backside immediately. The damage is now coming in for Rockky, and that's the shutdown onto the carry. A beautiful fight from the top laner, an 80 carry of Ascension. They're moving in. They're setting their sights on this Elder. Absolutely fantastic play.
And instead, they just go straight towards the bottom lane. Ascension team fighting fantastically right now, getting themselves to 5v5s. The great collapse from Rockky in particular. They win the fight. They go back to bottom lane. Whitelotus, no Guardian Angel, no real possibilities to sit here and actively defend. That's someone to stand in front of him.
Olaf, item actives up and available, lock it there to protect him if they try to get too aggressive. Could get baited in by it in the end. Now starting to heal up, an inhibitor's going to drop. Ascension, 21 seconds left on Seiya, 10 on Genthix, 24 on Jirall.
They're committing to this.
Is this where they end the game? Lloyd is going to get caught up, feathers fly, pull back. Whitelotus is immediately going to get dropped down, bounce on his head, a bit of a Goomba stomp to close it out, slam into the wall, knock him down. Keeping it close in the end, but the rest of Rainbow7 are back. Ascension may have overstayed. Braum going to look for the kill onto the top laner, brings it back. Rusty, I don't even know what to say. Such a close game.
They committed way too hard looking for the kills. Forwards from Lloyd was the name of the game, and now suddenly Rainbow7, they find an opportunity.
Jirall locking him up. G4 now trying to heal as much as possible. Zhonya's is there, but he's just delaying the inevitable. He will get taken down. Seiya with a kill of his own.
And straight to the Elder Dragon should be where Rainbow7 go. Intreso is alive, but to get there, to actually get to the pit and even achieve anything, near impossible, especially now the ultimate has been burned, so it'll just be secured for Rainbow7. But the inhibitor was the trade. That was the cost. The costs are getting higher and higher.
This is not the fight that they wanted, Rusty. They won it. They out-team fought.
They're waiting for Whitelotus, just so you know.
But they've stayed too long, Rusty. The 6-stack Elder Dragon. It's the first one, 45 damage per stack. It's not the end of the world. Before, you know, 4.5 oceans, jeez.
Yeah, you stack that one up. It's a lot of healing and regeneration that I think you're going to get for yourself there.
Everyone's a Garen now.
Yeah, happy campers either side of Rainbow7, except for the fact your inhibitor is gone, and we get to see the fight that does kick this one all off. It's Rich, frankly, one more time on the Rakan, navigating expertly. Lloyd was dealing damage, but Rich is engaged. No QSS is able to ever stop a Rakan from putting the full combo on. You QSS the charm, and then suddenly you're still knocked up regardless. And at this point, Lloyd steps up, goes forwards, but he's tanking both turrets. So there's no real way out for him here. And Lloyd was the necessary feature to end the game, to hit the turrets, to deal the damage, and to actually follow up and kill Oddie, because he was gone. The fight was over, and G4 actually had to walk from base through the mid lane, and just come and escort his team out to safety, and actually he dies for it. So super tragic there for Ascension on the back end.
G4 burns lasagnas as well. I think maybe hoping to get a kill back, Rusty, but just does not work out for the team in the end. And you can see in these fights, Rockky looks good at 2 points. He looks good at Mega Gnar when he combos, and he looks good at Mini Gnar when he gets to auto attack. But when he doesn't have the combo in Mega Gnar, that champion is useless. All this attack speed, absolutely worthless against the ranged carry threats of Rainbow7, because he just cannot get in range.
Can't hurricane people when you're a Mega Gnar as well, so the entire item is just there for the attack speed. A little bit of crit, it's not going to be too useful for him. You're right. He's a Mini Gnar based build. Mega Gnar is simply for the combo for the rest of his team, and Lloyd does have enough damage to follow that one up now, however. G4 still a little bit lacking in the damage department, but that is just the way that he has to live his life out when he's looking down an Azir as his opponent.
And of course the Azir just under 1,000 ability power at this stage of the game. 958. So it just seems a bit brutal here. They will look for the engage. They're not quite going to find it on the Ornn. G4 may look for a way into the backfire. Twitch once again leaping in and out of the fight, but the front line is so strong from the side of Rainbow7. Lloyd taking so much damage and getting shot down. A beautiful arrow, the GA coming in, but Seiya is there to make the play. G4 going golden, but not enough. Gets cut through. Rainbow7 empowered by the dragon. Do not hesitate to go for the throat, to look for the end. And Whitelotus just looking for the style plays to make sure no man is left standing in the end.
And only Rockky is left alive. He's trying to win the game on the bottom side of the map, but he's got Jirall to stop him as well. That's the victory for Rainbow7.
It was a back and forth bloodbath, 43 minutes into the game, but it is Rainbow7 who come out on top, getting their first win at the MSI play-in stage.
And in the end, it wasn't the cleanest of shows from Rainbow7. They do get the victory, and that's what matters the most for them. They do start the tournament 1-0 up. We have got 2 winners now in Group A that will eventually have to meet one another. But there were hiccups, there were moments, and you can credit Ascension for being able to pick up on those moments and get those picks, get those objectives. But the moments were still there, the opportunities were still there. They do present themselves with sometimes having weaknesses, it seems.
And you got to think, analyst desk, many analysts actually calling Rainbow7 the clear favorites. Oh, they won. But that was not the cleanest, that was not the clearest victory, giving up a lot there. And maybe this group is going to be a lot closer than people expect. For now, Rainbow7 do get the win. They are pulling out to a nice start. You got to wonder how they're going to do up against Gambit now with the 2 teams with a single win in this bracket.
That's definitely true. Gambit seemed to be a slower paced team, and perhaps as a style matchup as well, that could be something that works well for Rainbow7. Ultimately, in this first game, they're against a skirmish heavy team in Ascension who want to take the smaller fights, maybe not look towards the 5v5s. There was a lot of reliance on Seiya in particular and Whitelotus for those team fights to do these individual things, this above and beyond type of team fights to keep it good.
It feels a little bit like they relied a lot on those mechanical proficiencies, because you're right, there's so many team fights where Whitelotus should have dealt 0 damage. But the right QSS at the right time, the right flash out. Now, Ascension did shut that down once or twice. Those were the fights where they really came out on top, but it was just a massive performance for him despite the focus. But at the end of the day, we have to award a player of the game, and this time around, it will be Seiya. You said it yourself, Rusty. He was at the crux of everything in those fights. The beautiful walls, the close fight there near the Baron pit to really swing it back in the favor of Rainbow7 once again. It was a good look from the guy.
And I mean, quite simply, if he wasn't in the fight, they lost the fight. That's how important Seiya felt for the team, not just as the composition, but him as an individual. His decision-making as well was very sound, and we only really saw good things from Seiya when he was unlocked to be free. And you could already tell that a trend was stop him from being free at all, keep him busy, and don't let him do it, or we lose, was Ascension's game plan.
And I love it because so many of the fights around the Baron pit were Lloyd as the Xayah ulting, just to tell Seiya to back up. Willing to like give up any protection he has for himself personally, because he knows, hey, my life definitely not more valuable than this Azir's teamfight damage. I will burn all of my defensive cooldowns just to keep you away, just to stop you from dealing damage.
And that is a thing we have to navigate Ascension's drafting in particular as well. They had such low range against the Azir. Once you hit the mid game, once you start to scale to later on, he's going to outrange you. So you kind of have to make these crazy things to close the distance or to keep him away from you, to deal the damage. And that awkwardness in the compositions may be why.
And you have to know it's coming. I mean, this is his like signature pick. He was 6-0 on it. Now, if you look, here's 1-0 on it on the stage so far, and you have to wonder, is anyone going to give this to him? Maybe Ascension thought, hey, in the mid game we can outplay, and they found some fights later in the game that were good for them, but it definitely felt like great Rakan engages were the core of anything happening there.
Yeah.
However, when we return, Pastry Time checks in with Whitelotus to get his thoughts after that win. We'll also look ahead to Game 3, where Ascension Gaming return to the stage versus Gambit eSports.